You read the thumbnail. You know what it is. We're hunting for the crime novelist. Let's get it. I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for in this, but I'm really hoping I pull a couple crime novelists because that's the card I'm really looking for. That little bastardo is going to cause some trouble in the Commander community. We'll go ahead and pull out all of these. Whoa, boom, boom, boom. Okay, I ain't trying to waste nobody's time. I know a couple cards that are useful. I don't know which cards are the most expensive in the set though. So we're gonna crack it open. I'll put the prices on the screen of the hitters. All right, let's see what we got. Planes. Tunnel Tipster. Beginning of your end step, if a face-down creature entered the battlefield this turn, at the beginning of your end step, if a face-down creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Tunnel Tipster. And it's a mana dork. Taps and a mana. That's pretty decent. Private Eye. Other detectives you control get 1/1. Whenever you draw a second card each turn, target detective can't be blocked this turn. That's pretty decent. Beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control with power 2 or less gets +1 and gains Death Touch. Exile target attacking creature for 2 mana. That's pretty solid. Okay, we got this thing. Persuasive Interrogators. Enters the battlefield, investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. That's rough. That's going to win some games right there. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's like a game winner in blue right there. You can just win the game. That's crazy. As an additional cost to this spell, you may collect Evidence 6. Exile cards with total mana value 6 or greater from your graveyard. Reach. When this guy enters the battlefield, if evidence was collected, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, and you gain 2 life. Doesn't seem really worth it, but whatever. We got a tapped land. Sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped artifact or land you control. It's garbage. Nobody's going to use that. Nobody's going to use that. Out cold. The spell can't be countered. I like that. Tap up to 2 target creatures and put a stun counter on each of them. Investigate. The chase is on. Target creature gets +3 and gains first strike until the end of turn and investigate. Lots of clues. I just built a clue deck, so hopefully this set will help me out. It's a doctor. I built a doctor deck. Whenever Inside Source enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white detective token. Tap 3, tap it. Target detective you control gets +2 and gains vigilance until the end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Garbage. Repeat Offender. Tap 3. If Repeat Offender is suspected, put a 1/1 counter on it. Otherwise, suspect it. When Gadget Tactician enters the battlefield or is turned face up, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter creature with flying, or we can disguise it, which is a morph with 2. What is my rare in that pack? This card. The card I didn't read. Case of Stash Skeleton. When this case enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 black skeleton creature token and suspect it. It has menace and can't be blocked. That's what happens when you suspect it. To solve, you control no suspected skeletons. Okay. If unsolved, solve at the beginning of your next end step. Okay. Solved. Pay 2 mana, sacrifice this case, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it's like a tutor. It's pretty decent. We'll set that aside. No crime novelist. These are so much easier to open than collector packs. Mountain. Jaded Analyst. Defender. Whenever you draw a second card each turn, Jaded Analyst loses Defender and gains Vigilance until the end of turn. It's pretty decent. Vein Ripper. Mythic. Okay. Flying. Ward. Sacrifice a creature. Whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Wow, that's really strong. If it was costed a little less, it'd be way better, but that's still a pretty good card. Thundering Falls. Tapped land. When it enters, surveil. It's like a time walk. I'm just kidding. Parameter Enforcer. Flying lifelink. Whenever another detective enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever another detective enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever a detective you control is turned face up, this gets 1/1 until the end of turn. That's kind of solid. Fester Leech deals combat damage to a player. You mill 2 cards. When Fester Leech, you can pay 2. Fester Leech gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. Activate only once each turn. Garbage. Nobody's gonna use that. Half and half. Mill 3 cards and investigate. Or each opponent mills 3 cards. You may cast spells from each opponent's graveyard without paying mana cost. If the spell was cast this way, put it into the graveyard, exile it instead. Then you may cast a spell from each opponent's graveyard. Wow, that's awesome. That is a cool card. I really like that. I'm gonna set that aside. I really like that card. As an additional cost, oh, we already read that. Search your library for basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle it, investigate. 3 mana. Rampant Growth is better. So is 3 Visits. So is Nature's Lore. It's not going to get used. Goblin Maskmaker. Whenever Goblin Maskmaker face down spells cost 1 less to cast. Wow, that's cool. That makes little morphs a little better. We got this little clue thing. Enchantment Aura. When it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. I could pay 2, shuffle enchanted creature into its owner's library. That's pretty decent. Flying. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile 2 target creatures, 2 cards from a single graveyard. A little graveyard. Hey, 4 mana, that's way too expensive. That's for the draft. Whenever the agent enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles a card from their hand. That's pretty solid. A little hand control. People gonna hate that. Vigilance Disguise. Dogwalker turned face up. Create 2 tapped 1/1 dog creature tokens. More token creation in white. Nobody's gonna use that card. Boom. Art card. Looks fancy. Looks nice. We got a fancy land. Looks nice. Doesn't add up. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield and suspect it. It has menace and can't block. That's what suspect means. 5 mana. That's not bad. Instant speed. That might actually get played. Outrageous Robbery. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library face down. You may look at it and play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. If you cast a spell this way, you may spend mana as though were any type. That's pretty sweet, actually. I like that. Defender. Tap target creature. You may put a stun counter on it. If you do, put a stun counter on the Sanctuary wall. It's got Disguise 5. Disguise 7. Holy crap. You may play this card face down for 3. And turn it face up for 7. Oh my god, that's a lot. Whenever it's turned face up, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Creatures you control gain trample. Okay. So kind of like an overrun ability. It's really expensive. Concealed Weapon. Enchanted creature gets +3. We got a disguise cost. Whenever concealed weapons turn face up, attach it to target creature you control. Might be used. Can't be countered. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste and suspected. I'm gonna use that. I got a Myra the Magnificent deck that's going in. Whenever the automaton enters the battlefield, surveil 1. 2 mana. That's not bad. Whenever Rubbish Maverick enters the battlefield, surveil 2. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. That's not bad for 1 mana. Whenever Braggart attacks, if it's not suspected, I suspect it. Flash. Enchant creature. Whenever enters the battlefield, untap target. Untap enchanted creature. It gains hexproof until the end of turn. If it's suspected, no longer suspected. Enchanted creature gets 2/2 and can't become suspected. Not bad. At 3 mana, it might get used. Destroy target creature. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. For 3 mana. Instant speed. In white, white's got better options. Whenever one or more creature cards leave the graveyard, Rot Farm Mortarpede gets +1 and gains Menace and Lifelink until the end of turn. Hey, if you could do that multiple times, that might be a decent card. An Escape Tunnel. Search your library for a basic land card, put it down at the battlefield tapped, so it's a Evolving Wilds. Ooh, with an extra ability. That's a good card. That's going to be better than Terramorphic Expanse. Evolving Wilds, that's a good card. Crack it. Detective. Swamp. Foil. Murder. Oh, so pretty. Look at that card. That's really pretty. Kylox. I'm going to set that card aside, actually. Menace, Ward 2, Haste. Whenever Kylox Inventor attacks, sacrifice any number of other creatures, then exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the total power. You may cast any number of instant or sorcery cards from among them, exile cards without paying their mana cost. It's kind of a mouthful. That's a mouthful. When this card enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. When you do, exile target creature an opponent controls. That's pretty solid. You can sacrifice itself. It's 5 mana to exile a creature in black. That's pretty good. When Giant Weaver enters the battlefield, distribute 3 1/1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 creatures. Then gain life to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. 7 mana, nobody's going to use it. When it enters the battlefield, turn face up. Target creature blocks this turn of Fable. Disguise 4, that's way too expensive. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that disguise mechanic because it's so expensive all the time. The spell costs 3 less if you sacrifice an artifact this turn, can't be countered, and it deals 4 damage to target creature. Wow, that's cool. That's solid. Whenever Hotshot Investigators enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. If you controlled it, investigate. That's not bad. 6 mana is way too expensive. Galvanize. Topiary Panther. Basic land cycling, trample. It's kind of alright. Creatures you control get +1/+0 until the end of turn, and you investigate. Murder. Graveyard Strider. Tap 1, add it. 1 mana of any color. Activate only once each turn. We can exile this from your graveyard to exile target card from a graveyard. So it's a little bit of graveyard hate. Nobody's going to use that. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and you investigate for 2 mana. Creating a clue token is really solid if you got an Academy Manufacturer on the field. So those clue cards, the investigates, might be used quite a bit. Enters the battlefield or attacks, put 1 counter on target creature with its power 2 or less. Okay, hide in plain sight. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, cloak 2 of them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. To cloak a card, put it on the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature with Ward 2. Hey, that's kind of cool. For 4 mana? Wow, that's solid. Flying. Whenever it enters the battlefield, all suspected creatures become no longer suspected. When this dies, you gain 3 life and suspect up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Spell can't be countered. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. That's kind of solid for 2 mana. Pompous Gadabout has hexproof as long as it's your turn. And it can't be blocked by creatures that don't have a name. Wow, that's kind of cool. Oh, so tokens. Tokens don't have names. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, investigate. I might use that in my new deck. Disguise. Whenever offender at large enters the battlefield, return face up. Up to 1 target creature gets +2 until the end of turn. Garbage. As an additional cost, you may collect evidence. Flying. Enters the battlefield, tap target creature. If evidence was collected, put a sun counter on it. London Eavesdropper. Investigate when it enters. Whenever you draw your 2nd card each turn, gets 1/1 and gains vigilance. You can only activate it once. It's. They always do that. They always ruin a card by that. Each opponent sacrifices a creature if evidence was collected. Instead, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power. That's pretty solid, actually. We've read that one. Alley Assailant. When it's turned face up, target opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life. When it enters the battlefield, investigate for 1 mana. That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. We can get some clues going. Okay, got a clue. Garbage looking clue. Just kidding. Nice looking mountain. Karlov, we read him. Lazev. When the wearer of a faces attacks, exile target card from a graveyard, then investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you may have Lazev become a copy of a creature card exiled with it until the end of turn. That's pretty cool. It's 2 mana. It'd be a fun commander to build around. A wrench. Sacrifice a draw card. Equipped creature gets +1 and has vigilance. And pay 3 tap target creature. That's not bad. Put X/1/1 counters on target creature you control. Then counter up to 1 target spell unless its controller pays mana equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Clandestine Meddler. Enters the battlefield, suspect up to 1 other creature you control. Whenever 1 or more suspected creatures you control attack, surveil 1. Solid card. Creature tokens you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Holy crap, that's a good card. That is a good card. That's going to be used. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, put a 0/1 insect plant, and then put a 1. Wow, that card is really good. Set that aside. It's probably worth $1 or $2. We got a thinking cap. We got equipped creature gets +1/+2, equipped detective, and equipped. Innocent bystander is dealt 3 or more damage. Investigate. Counter target spell unless controller plays 2. Suspect up to 1 target creature. Vengeful Creeper. Turn face up. Destroy target artifact or enchantment and opponent controls for 5/6 mana. Holy crap, that's a lot of mana. When it dies, deals 2 damage to any target, and it has disguise for 4. When Basilica Stalker deals damage to a player, you gain 1 life and surveil, and it has disguise and flying. Makeshift Binding. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent controls until Makeshift Binding leaves the battlefield. You gain 2 life. Another one of the banishing. Light, I think it is. It's the same reprint. Pretty Island. Tragic Slip. Wow. Okay, so 1 mana for Tragic Slip. It's a mythic. It's in our special guest slot. Target creature gets -1/-1 until the end of turn. Morbid, so if a creature died this turn, that creature gets -13/-13 until the end of turn instead of if a creature dies. Blah, blah, blah. Gets 1/1, and if a creature died this turn, it gets -13/-13. Good card. When it enters the battlefield, investigate twice. Tap, create a 1/1 Thopter artifact. Activate only if you sacrifice an artifact this turn. Steam Core Scholar. Flying Vigilance. Enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an instant or sorcery card or a creature with flying. Mouthful. Reckless Endeavor attacks. You may sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And Reckless Detective gets +2/+0 until the end of turn. Breakout. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them. If it has mana value 2 or less, put it on the battlefield. It gains haste until the end of turn. If you didn't reveal the card if you didn't put the revealed card onto the battlefield this way, put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. So you get a card either on the battlefield or in your hand. Case. If 1 or more tokens be created under those tokens plus a clue are created. That's the end of this case. Enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever a detective you control is turned face up. Nobody's going to use that. As Bubble Smuggler turned face up, put 4 1/1 counters on it. Nobody's going to use that. Enters the battlefield, choose 1. Destroy up to 1 target artifact. Sacrifice an artifact. Put 2 1/1 counters on it. Hotshot Investigators. Nervous Gardener. When it's turned face up, search your library for a land card. Basic land card. Put it into your hand. That's not actually a bad card. Reach. Disguise 4, 6, 7. Nobody's going to use that. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. And not bad. And we read the Market Watch Phantom. It gains flying until the end of turn. If it power 2 or less enters. I think I like set boosters better, y'all. Offender at large. Vanifar. At the beginning of combat in your turn, choose one. Cloak a card from your hand, or put a 1/1 counter on each colorless creature you control. That's pretty sweet. Exile target non-land card in a graveyard that was put there anywhere this turn. Copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. It's pretty solid. 4 mana, it's kind of expensive. Hard-hitting question. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. 1 mana, that's really good. That's a solid card. Case File Auditor. Deadly Complication. Choose one or both. Destroy target creature. Put a 1/1 counter on target suspected creature you control. You may have it become no longer suspected. Public Thoroughfare. Goblin Mask Maker. Projector Inspector. Whenever he or another detective enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever a detective is turned face up, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Whenever unscrupulous agent enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles a card. Oh, we read that. Racket Scoundrel. Turn face up, target creature indestructible until the end of turn. It's not too bad. When Museum Nightwatch dies, create 2/2 white-blue detective. And Alley Assailant. Enters the battlefield tapped, turn face up, 3 life. They lose 3 life, we gain 3 life. Not a good card. Curious Inquiry. Case of the Uneaten Feast. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. To solve it, you've gained 5 or more life this turn. If you've solved it, sacrifice this case. Creature cards in your graveyard gain. You may cast this card from your graveyard until the end of turn. I'm not exactly sure how cases work. The Surveil Land enters tapped. Case of the Trampled Guardian. Case of the Trampled Garden. When it enters the battlefield, distribute 2 1/1 counters among target creatures you control. Creatures you control have target power of 8 or greater. That's how to solve the case. And whenever it's solved, whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature. It gains trample to the end of turn. Crime Novelist! Woo! We got a Crime Novelist, guys. That's the one we were looking for. I think that's $5 or something. We're going to keep that. That's a good card. That's cool. I'm excited. It's a success. It's a success. We hit it. Hexproof. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, skip that draw instead. Oh, it's that guy. He might not be too bad. Whenever undercover crocodile. Hey, look at that elf crocodile detective. That's cool as hell. That is cool. Look at that card. Whenever it deals combat damage, investigate, and it has disguise. Blue-green, that's not too bad. Bite down the crime. Target. It has evidence. Collect evidence. Target creature you control gets +2, +0 to end the turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Felonious Rage. Out cold. Up to 2 target creatures have stun counters on them. Sanguine Savior. Turn face up. Another target creature you control gains lifelink until the end of turn. So some life gain. And Agency Owner. Topiary Panther. Cryptex. Collect evidence 3, 1 mana of any, add 1 mana of any color. Put an unlock counter on Cryptex. Sacrifice it, surveil 3, then draw 3 cards. Activate only if Cryptex has 5 or more unlock counters on it. That's kind of cool. Exit Specialist. Can't be blocked with powers 3 or greater. Whenever it's turned face up, return another creature to its owner's hand. Sample Collector. Whenever it attacks, I'm going to collect evidence 3. And when I do, put 3 1/1 counters on it. Oh, on target creature you control, not just him. Meddling Youths. Hey, it's the Scooby Gang. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, investigate. We're going to set that aside because the Scooby Gang, you know, that's cool. Whenever it enters the battlefield, we already read that. Pick your poison. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact. Each opponent sacrifices an enchantment. Or each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. That's solid. 1 mana. Solid. Galvanize. Unauthorized exit. Return target non-land permanent to his owner's hand. Boom. Get out of here. We don't want that. Flying, vigilance. Whenever it's turned face up, tap or untap target creature. Garbage. Whenever enters the... We already read that. We read that. Dog walker. Whenever it turned face up, we read that too. Island, look at that beautiful island. Look at that. Crashing footfalls. Suspend. Wow, that's solid. Solid card. Create 2 4/4 green rhino creature code tokens with trample. Cascade into that boy. We read the Rot Farm. Work Investigator. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent who has more cards in their hand than you. And we're in white, so you know they're going to have more cards in hand than us. Deadly Cover-Up. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may collect 6. Destroy all creatures. If evidence was collected, exile a card from an opponent's graveyard. Then search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the name and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. That's going to mess up some stuff. It might be worth a couple dollars. I doubt it, though. Torture Witness. Deals twice X damage to target creature. If excess damage was dealt, investigate. Presumed dead. We read that. Investigate creatures your opponents control. Investigate. Creatures your opponents control get my -2, -0 until the end of turn. If any of them are suspected, they are no longer suspected. Magnifying Glass. It's a mana rock, and it has Investigate. That's pretty solid. Target creature gets +3 until the end of turn, and Trample. Person of Interest. Create a 2/2 white-blue detective creature token. On the job. Looks nice. I like the artwork. Rot Farm, and Gadget Tactician. Got enough time for one more pack, I think. Fairy Snoop. Ansrag. Boom! That's a hitter, son. That's a hitter. I think that's like $12 or $15. That's good. Whenever Ansrag, the Quake Mole, becomes blocked, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. Wow. Ansrag must be blocked. So that's cool. That's cool. That's a good card. We got the black-white one now. That's the Surveil land. Lightning Helix. Deals 3 damage to target creature, and you gain 3 life. We got a Knife. The Knife card. +1, it has First Strike. Hustle. Target creature attacks or blocks this turn if able. Creatures you control get +2 and gain trample until the end of turn. You may turn a creature you control face up. Not too bad. Benthic Criminologist. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, draw a card. Dramatic Accusation. Tap. Oh, we already read that. The way we read that, that's the ramp card. That's not that good. The chase is on. Defenestrated Phantom. Snarling Gorehound. And the Escape Tunnel, which is the better Evolving Wilds. Forest. Reasonable Doubt. Cryptic Coat. Whenever it enters the battlefield, cloak the top card of your deck, then Cryptic Cloak, attach it to it. Equipped creature gets +1 and can't be blocked. And I can return this to my hand, and I can turn the other card face up. It's kind of solid. Cravad Hammock. No, Cravad Haunch. Sacrifice it, you gain 3 life, because it's food. Whenever it's put into the graveyard, you may pay 2. If I do, create 2 1/1 white dog creature tokens. That's kind of cool. Cave of the Gateway Express. We got a rope, so we can strangle bitches. Soul Intuition. Whenever one or more creatures leave your graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 3 life. Or gain 1 life. That's solid. Then Deduce. Draw a card and investigate for 2 mana. Not bad. At the beginning of your end step, if a face-down creature card enters the battlefield that's under your control... Oh, we already read that. Demand Answers. Sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. Draw 2 cards. Solid card. When it enters the... Oh, we already read that. Target creature gains Death Touch, lifelink till the end of turn. Fairy Snoop. Alright, next pack. We'll see if we can get another crime novelist over here, y'all. Plains, beautiful plains. I love these arts. These arts are really nice. Pick your poison. Drag the canal. Create a 2/2 white-blue detective creature token. If a creature died this turn, gain 2 life, surveil 2, then investigate. That's pretty solid for 2 mana. We got the black-red one. Leering Onlooker. Exile it from your graveyard. Create 2 black 1/1 tapped flying creature tokens. Forensic Researcher. Untap another target permanent. Collect evidence 3. Tap target creature you don't control. That's pretty solid. I'd use that. Neighborhood Guardian. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield with 2 or less under your control, target creature gets 1/1 till the end of turn. That's going to be solid in some token decks. Slime Against Humanity. That's worth a couple dollars, actually. Oh, let me read it to you guys. Sorry. Okay. Create a 0/0 ooze creature token with trample. Put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is 2 plus the total number of cards you own in exile and in your graveyard that are oozes and or named Slime Against Humanity. A deck can have any number of named cards Slime Against Humanity. So you can have any number of these and you just make a bunch of dudes. We're going to set that over there. Jaded Analyst. Shock. Deal 2 damage any target for 1 mana. That's pretty solid. Auspicious Arrival. We read that. Slice from the Shadows. This spell can't be countered. Love that. Target creature gets neg X till the end of turn. That's pretty good for 1 mana. Get the X. Crowd Control. Warden enters the battlefield or is turned face up. Put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of other creatures you control. That's a solid card. And then Seasoned Consultant. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, it gets 2/0 till the end of turn. Garbage. That was garbage. But I had some good cards in that pack. Boom. Got a clue. Haven't got a foil token yet. Big sad. Yeah, Vanifar. Evolved Enigma. At the beginning of your combat, choose 1. Cloak a card from your hand, or put a 1/1 counter on each colorless creature you control. Ugh. That was a mouthful. Good card. I think that's the second one I pulled. Kellen. It has a adventure. Costs 4. 2 for the adventure. Investigate. You may play an additional land this turn. I'm going to use that. That's solid. Then we get a creature. Flying Vigilance. Whenever Kellen, Inquisitor Prodigy, attacks, destroy up to 1 target artifact. If you controlled that permanent, draw a card. That is a solid card. That is really good, actually. Wow. Karlov Watchdog. Permanent your opponent's control can't be turned face up during your turn. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures you control get +1/+0 to the end of the turn. That's a good card. At the end of combat on your turn, you may collect evidence 4. Whenever you collect evidence, investigate. Not bad. Case of the Gorgon's Kiss. Wisp, Drinker Vampire. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That's pretty good. That's solid. It's just getting so much more redundancy in that Blood Artist, Mirkwood Bats, Gravecrawler combos. It's so good. Oh, what's the second ability? Creatures you control with power 2 or less gain Death Touch and Lifelink. So it gets some life and some Death Touch. Got the Elf Crocodile Detective. Airtight Alibi. Behind the Mask. You may collect evidence 6. Until the end of turn, target artifact or creature becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness of 4/3. If evidence is collected, it has a base power and toughness of 1. Okay, so you can use it either way. That's pretty cool. You can use it on your stuff or your opponent's stuff. It's solid. Red Herring. Attacks each combat if able. You can sacrifice it to draw a card. It's a clue fish. It's kind of cool. Murder. That foil one we got earlier looked way better. Shady Informant. When it dies, deal 2 damage, and it disguise. Griffnot Tracker. Yeah, garbage. We read that one earlier. Forest. Ferocious Rage. We read that. Krenko. Look, I love this artwork. That's one of my favorites. That Krenko looks so nice. Haste. Tap, sacrifice an artifact. Put a 1/1 counter on each goblin you control. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1. If you do, create a red 1/1 goblin creature token. It gains haste until the end of turn. That's pretty solid. Because we got that crime novelist. That's good. Ooh, beautiful card. Look at that. This is that tapped surveil land. We got the red-white one. Oh. Yeah. It just didn't have the red-white thing on there. That's cool. Solid card. Beginning of combat in your turn, create a 1/1 Thopter artifact. It gains haste. Sacrifice at the beginning of next end step. Aftermath Analyst. Mill 3 cards when it enters. Sacrifice it to return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's a good card. That's good. I'm going to use that. Case of the Shattered Pact. Whenever this case enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card. Put it into your hand, then shuffle. That's 2 mana. That's pretty good. To solve, there are 5 color among permanents you control, so we can only play this in 5 color decks. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains flying, double strike, and vigilance until the end of turn. That's solid. That's a solid card. Bubble Smuggler. We read that. Cold Case Cracker. When it dies, investigate. Rubble Belt Maverick. Surveil 2 when it enters. And we can exile it from our graveyard. We read that. The Gearbane Orangutan. We read that. Extract a Confession. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. We read that. Make your move. And Basilica Stalker. Ooze. That's that ooze we need for that. Beautiful swamp. Look at that. People gonna like those. I like them. Get a leg up. Krenko's Bone Crusher. Flying Trample. Whenever Krenko's Buzz Crusher enters the battlefield, for each player, destroy up to 1 non-basic land that players control. For each land destroyed this way, its controller may search the library for basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped. Solid. The owner of target spell or non-land permanent puts it on the top or bottom of their owner library. Wow. People gonna hate that too. Killer Among Us. When a Killer Among Us enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human creature token and a 1/1 blue merfolk and a 1/1 red goblin. Then secretly choose one of those. Sacrifice this thing. Reveal the chosen creature type. If target attacking creature token is the chosen type, put 3/1 counters on it and it gains Death Touch. That is a mouthful. Oh my god, that card is just like 2 paragraphs of craziness that probably isn't going to be that useful. Exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. Target player gains 2 life and draws a card. This is Cease and Desist. This is a reprint. Good card. Turn target creature. Doesn't add up. They went this way. Demand Answers. Projector Inspector. Tunnel Tipster. Market Watch Phantom. Rift Bust. Cerebral. Getting a bunch of cards we've seen already, so we can move through this a lot faster now because we've seen all these cards. We've read them. We read almost all the commons. Plains. Beautiful foil plains. Love it. Cerebral Confiscation. Target opponent discards 2 cards, or target opponent reveals their hand and you choose an online card from it and that player discards that card. So it's either we take away 2 cards from their hand or 1 card. That's dope. When Hunted Bone Brute enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 2 1/1 white dogs. Whenever this dies, each opponent loses 3 life. Oh, it's a 6/2. I mean, it could be solid. It could be solid. We got the Private Eye. We had him before. Flourishing Bloomkin gets 1/1 for each forest you control. Whenever it's turned face up, search your library for up to 2 forest cards, reveal them, put one of them on the battlefield and one of them into your hand. Not bad. For 5 mana though, it's kind of pricey. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature, attacking creature, or create 3 1/1 white Thopter artifact creature tokens with Surveil 2. Call a Surprise Witness. The Automaton, Goblin Mask Maker, Hotshot Investigators, Slime Against Humanity, got another one of those. Gravestone Strider, Repeat Offender. Let me organize this a little better, sorry guys. These cards are Looking redonkulous. Okay. Let's get it. Okay. Mountain. Ruin Brand Juggler. When it enters the battlefield, suspect up to one target creature your opponent's control. No, you control. As an additional cost, sacrifice a creature that dealt damage this turn. Draw 3 cards. Each opponent loses 3 life. You gain 3 life. That could be good. Slimy Diluc. Tin Street Gossip. Tap, add a green or red. Spend this mana only cast face down creature spells or to turn creatures face up. Magnetic Shuffler. Whenever this enters the battlefield, return target equipment from your graveyard to the battlefield. Attach it to this. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a 1 counter on this. That's probably a good card, actually. For a large, Cold Craze Cracker, Fanatical Strength, Makeshift Binding, Macabre Reconstruction, Crowd Control, on the job. To the next. Play boosters versus set boosters. I'm still leaning towards set boosters. I don't know, but I guess there's no question on what's booster pack to get, so that's always decent. Cause like that was the problem. Dramatic Accusation, good art, beautiful. Look at that. Ooh, that foil is so pretty. I'm gonna set that aside. That might be worth $1. Doppelgang. For each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copy of that permanent. Holy crap! I'm gonna use that definitely. It's probably not worth anything, but I'm gonna use it. Whenever your opponent sacrifices an artifact, it deals 2 damage to them. That's what I'm talking about. Nobody's talking about that. That's the card I'm talking about. Wow, I'm gonna run this. I hate people running treasures. This is gonna punish them. That's beautiful. I love it. Vengeful Tracker. I'm gonna set that aside. Night Drinker Morai. Hedge Whisperer. You may choose to not untap this during your untap step. We can tap, sacrifice, or we can collect evidence for. Target land you control becomes a 5/5 plant bar for as long as this remains tapped. It's still a land. I don't like it. Too much. Not on my watch. Innocent Bystander. Magnifying Glass. Crime Stopper Spray. Airtight Alibi. Rot Farm. Dog Walker. Griftneck Tracker. I'm happy about that Vengeful Tracker. Whew, that's good. I'm happy about that. I'm just throwing packs everywhere. Lumbering Laundry. Until end of turn, you may look at face down creatures you don't control. Hey, yeah. Nobody's gonna use it, but it's cool. War Leader's Call. Creatures you control get 1/1. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, this card deals 1 damage to each opponent. Solid. This is a clue equipment. Equipped creature gets 1/1 and has, when this creature attacks, Surveil 2. This is the Candlestick. Case of the Burning Masks. Enters the battlefield, deal 3 damage to target creature and opponent controls. We have to have 3 or more sources you control deal damage this turn in order to solve it. We can sacrifice it to exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may choose one of them to play this turn. Whew, that's a lot of stuff for 3 red. That's not a lot of stuff for 3 red. We could do so much more with 3 red. When this enters the battlefield, investigate. Sacrifice. Oh, that's a poison counter that I hate. I'm going to hate that. Chalk Outline. Thinking Cap. Shock. Deduce. Draw a card and investigate. Rubble Belt. Toxin Analysis. Escape Tunnel. And the Hazada. These are so much easier to open than the collector booster packs. It's crazy. Forest. Due Diligence. Assemble the players. Here's one rare. Okay. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Once each turn, you may cast a creature spell with 2 or less from the top of your library. My friend Juan's gonna love that. Prof's Edict Memory. Whenever this enters the battlefield, draw a card, no maximum hand size. Beginning combat on your turn, if you've drawn more than 1 card this turn, put X/1/1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn -1. Mouthful. Gosh. Furtive Courier. Can't be blocked as long as you've sacrificed an artifact this turn. And whenever it attacks, draw a card, discard a card. Gleaming Drake, Benthic Criminologist, Red Herring, the Eavesdropper. Reasonable Doubt, Basilica Stalker, Fairy Snoop, Seasoned Consultant. Next pack. Clue, Swamp, Bubble Smuggler, Anzrag's Rampage. Destroy all artifacts you don't control. Then exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of artifacts that were put into graveyards from the battlefield this turn. You may put a creature card exiled this way onto the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to your hand at the beginning of your next end step. That's probably a solid card. That's a good card. The Forum Familiar. Burden of Proof. Get a leg up. Polygraph Orb. Person of Interest. Behind the Mask. Galvanized. Topiary Panther. Snarling Gorehound. Then the Granite Witness. Make your move. Plains. Crozen Trucker. Crozen Tusker. Cycling. Whenever you cycle it, you may search your library for basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Solid card. Toxin Analysis. Lamplight Phoenix. Whenever it dies, exile it, collect evidence for it. If I do, return it to the battlefield tapped. Sanctuary Well. Case of the Filched Falcon. Branch of the Ghazi. Add a mana. Whenever it's turned face up, no. Coerced Kill. Enchant creature has a base power and toughness of 1. It has Death Touch and it's an assassin. Unauthorized exit. Rubber Belt Braggart. Bite down on the crime. Unscrupulous Agent, Rakish Scoundrel, and Inside Source. Spent half the first half of the video reading the cards. Now we can just look at them, you know, see what's in there. Vengeful Creeper. Pride of the Hulkblade. There we go, son. Good card. Love it. It costs X less to cast, where X is the total toughness of creatures you control, and you could pay 2 and 2 blue. Till the end of turn, when target creature you control gets 1 and 0, and whenever the creature deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to the toughness, and can attack as though it didn't have defender. So you can use it on itself and draw like 15 cards. Craziness. 15 cards is crazy. Good card. Forensic Gadgeteer. Whenever you cast an artifact, investigate. Oh, solid. Activate its abilities of artifacts you control cost 1 less to activate. Oh wow, that's so solid. Makes your clues sack for 1. That's crazy. Buried in the Garden. Essence of Antiquity. Scene of the Crime. Tap an untap creature, add 1 mana of any color, sacrifice a draw card. Suspicion Domination. Public Thoroughfare, Out Cold, Chases On, Repeat Offender, Gadget Tactician, Defenestrated Phantom. They didn't need to put that word on there. Why? Why? They didn't need to put that word on there. Plains, Simula Sentry. Kaya. I love Kaya. She's one of my favorites. Whenever one or more creatures you control and or creature cards in your graveyard are put into exile, you may choose a creature card from among them until end of turn. Target token you control becomes a copy of it, except it has flying. +2, surveil 2, then exile a card from your graveyard. +1, create a 1/1 white black spirit creature token with flying. -2, exile target creature you control. For each other player, exile up to 1 trigger creature that player controls. That's solid. Expedited Inheritance. Whenever a creature is dealt damage, its controller may exile that number of cards on the top of their library. They may play those cards until the end of their next turn. I'm not going to use that because it gives my opponents too much benefit. I don't want that. Flourishing Bloomkin, 10th Street Gossip, Chalk Outline, the Sanitation Automaton, Nervous Gardener, Jade Analyst, Vengeful Creeper, the Phantom, Slice from the Shadows, Sanguine Savior. Couple packs left, y'all. Couple packs left. See if we can get another crime novelist. Here's the one. Let's see if we can pull another one. Mountain. Mystery Key. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat, sacrifice Mystery Key. If I do, draw 3 cards. Not bad. No Witnesses. Each player who controls the most creatures investigates, then destroy all creatures. Night Drinker. Coerced Kill. Polygraph Orb, Fairness Rage, Dramatic Accusation, Pick Your Poison, Museum Night Watch, Extract Confession, and Riftborn Hellfire. Seen it a lot. Okay. Here we go. Wojcik Investigator. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. That's a good card. That's the one we read earlier. It's foiled. Homicide Investigator. Lots of investigators. Oh my god. I've been saying that word so many times. Starting to sound out like a word. Whenever one or more non-token creatures you control die, investigate. This ability only triggers once each turn, which ruins the card, but it's alright. Case of the Burning Mass. Scene of the crime. Suspicion. The orangutan. The panther. Demand answers. Reasonable doubt. Due diligence. Murder. And auspicious arrival. All the commons we've read already. I feel like we read every common already. The alibi. Undergrowth Recon. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target land from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. What? That's solid. That's solid. I like that. Whenever a creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library face down. Discard your hand. Sacrifice this. Put all cards exiled with this into their owner's hands. I don't like it. Candlestick. The Sentry. The Gear Drake. The Crocodile. Tipster. Chases on. Analyst. The Coroner. Makeshift Binding. And the Gravestone Grinder. Grave Grindstoner. Forest. Oh, here we go. Floatsome and Jetsam. Mill 3 cards and investigate. Or that one card that I really liked earlier. It's the one where we mill your opponent's mills and you can cast stuff for free. Create a 0/1 plant creature token, then draw cards equal to the number of differently named creature tokens you control. 3 mana, that's solid. Case of the Filched. Get a leg up. Lead Pipe. The Lumbery Laundry. Slime Against Humanity. The Braggart. Super Crime Stopper Spray. Eavesdropper. Assailant. Phantom. And the Informant. Swamp. That's probably my favorite one. I really like that one. They're all really nice, though. It's hard to choose a favorite. Quinterus. I got like 14 of him because I pulled a lot of Strixhaven. Ooh, pretty card. Look how pretty that is. Convenient target. Enchant creature. When convenient target enters the battlefield, suspect enchanted creature. It gets 1/1, and then we can return it from the graveyard to our hand for 3 mana. Illicit Masquerade. When it enters the battlefield, put an imposter counter on each creature you control. Whenever a creature you control with an imposter counter on it dies, exile it, return it up to one other target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That is solid. That's a good card. Buried in the Garden. Burden of Proof. Curious Cadaver. Convenient target. Red Herring. Magnifying Glass. Deduce. The Confiscation Inspector and Offender. Let me get another crime novelist. Let me get another crime novelist. Mountain, that's what I'm talking about. It's the crime novelist. Stalker. Judith. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, choose one. That spell gains Death Touch and Lifelink. That's kind of crazy. Never seen that on a card. That's cool though. Or we can create a 2/2 red imp token with whenever this creature dies, deals 2 damage to each opponent. Solid card. Let's set that up. There's that guy, Forensic Gadgeteer. Whenever you cast an artifact, investigate. And the artifacts cost 1 less to activate, which is solid. Crowl Whipcracker. Whenever this enters... Oh, that's not that good. Banthic Criminologist, Pick Your Poison, Shock, Behind the Mask, Granite Witness, Seasoned Consultant, Agency Coroner. On to the next one. I should start a new pile over here because my pile's falling over. New pile. Human. Forest. The Hellion. Archdruid's Charm. Choose one. Search your library for creature or land card, reveal it, put it onto the battlefield tapped if it's a land card, otherwise put it into your hand. Then shuffle. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Or exile target artifact or enchantment. For 3 green, that's 3 green hard pips. If you're only playing mono green, it'd be alright. There's the black green tap, surveil land. Push and pull. Miss Swift Spy. When it's turned face up. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, investigate. It's garbage. Fey Flight, Vengeful Creeper, Person of Interest, Cold Case Cracker, Public Thorough, The Scoundrel, Phantom, Gorehound. What did I get in that pack? Oh, I got the Archvillage Charm and no crime novelist, the blue one, nice. Curious Cadaver, Analyst of Pollen. You can collect evidence 8, which is exiling total mana cost from your graveyard. We can search your library for a basic land card. If evidence was collected, search your library for a creature or a land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. For 1 mana, that's pretty solid. This is the blue-green Surveil land. The Juggler, Outfitter, Soul Search, Thinking Cap, Fanatical Strength, the Bystander, Bite Down on the Crime, Savior, Dire Due Diligence, Confiscation. 2 more packs left. Plains. Crime Novelist! We got a foily crime novelist. Foily crime novelist. Super excited about that. That's cool. That's cool. Leyline of the Guild Pack. That's another one that I really wanted. I forgot that was in this set. That's so cool. That's so cool. I really like that. Let's read it. If it's in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. Each non-land permanent you control is all colors. And then lands you control are every basic type in addition to their other types. So it's like every forest is a mountain, everything. It's awesome. Okay, foreign familiar. Detective's Satchel. Whenever it enters the battlefield, investigate twice. Oh, we read that earlier. The Clan Basher. Scapegoat. Enters the battlefield, suspect it. Whenever 1 or more creatures enter the battlefield under your control, if this is suspected, you may suspect one of those other creatures. If I do, this is no longer suspected. Smuggler, Inspector, Furious Rage, Out Cold, The Warden, Night Watch, and Slice in the Shadows. And let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Last final pack. Last final pack. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Island, Goblin Matchmaker. We got the Pyrotechnic Performer. Whenever this or another creature you control is turned face up, that creature deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. If you're going for that kind of deck, the Morph decks, that's going to be solid. Surveillance Monitor. Enters the battlefield, you may collect evidence 4. Whenever you collect evidence, create a 1/1 Thopter. Cornered Crook. No More Lies. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into the graveyard. Solid. Solid. Get out of here. We want stuff countered. We want it gone for good. Expose the Culprit. Turn face down creatures face up. Exile any number of... Oh, we already read that. The Gardener. Offender at Large. Unauthorized Exit. Fairy Snoop. Has the Vigilante. Toxic Analyst. And the Gadget Tactician. That is all. This is... So I paid $150 for the box. I got 67 rares that were equal to $170. After I took out everything under $2, it came out to $146. The best cards I pulled 2 Crime Novelists, a Crashing Footfalls, which is $15, Anzrag the Quake Maul, which is $13, and Leyline of the Guild Pack, which is $8. Overall, I feel like the set's a little lackluster, and I did like set boosters better than play boosters. I felt like I got more list cards, and I really like the list cards. Felt like I got more rares, but I'm not 100% sure on that. 30 booster packs, 67 rares. It wasn't bad. $146 is a decent value. We'll see if they'll go up because they're brand new and prices fluctuate a whole lot. Check this video right here if you want to see why these boxes went from $240 to $80. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.